This is Jose Trujillo, the world's greatest living artist. We're going to do a painting now. And we'll see where this goes. I'm doing one intense painting once a day to I guess to have some fun. So this is something slightly larger. We're gonna be doing one intense painting once a day. What I mean by intense is that it's got more intensity. Of course, that's the word, right? There's more work going into it. More time, definitely. More energy. And I'm choosing to do it on a bigger canvas also. So let's get started. Let's get started. Here we go. This is going to take probably the whole hour, maybe more, of the video to finish this painting, but that's the beauty of it, right? Let's go for it. So there's going to be some boats. What I'm going to do first is going to put a little horizon line right here, just to kind of indicate that something else is happening back there, and then we're going to go straight into our boats. Straight into our boats right there. And I'm just doing this with just black and red. I'm mixing black and red. I like how black and red mix. I don't know, I like it. I like the way that it mixes. There's a certain intensity in that mix of color. And let's put another boat back here, just for kicks. There we go. The boats are maybe because the dock is right here, right? So the boats are going to be right there. Because our dock is right there. This is just to kind of get an idea. Again, this is just an idea of what is happening here. It's about to rain harder here. Okay, so let's start doing some of that magic in here. I'm going to start out with a larger palette knife. Might as well paint with a palette knife, since a lot of people ask me how I do it. Let's do this and start showing how I do it. Put a little bit more of that greenish in there, because remember, now we're messing with water down here, and we need the water to very, very, very simple as well. Not as simple as my other style, which is using the brush. This has a bit more. It's more intense, so it's got a bit more art. You're gonna see, like the water lilies that I painted. And that I shared with you guys here on my Instagram wall. These paintings are a bit more intense. They have more color. They have more brushwork. These are definitely not the same bunch. Consequently, when I paint them, they fly off the shelf right away. For the same reason, because there's a difference in these paintings, in the manner in which they're worked. These are not as quote-unquote simple as the other work that I do. Originally, this is the work that I started doing early on when I started painting on and sharing my work on eBay a few years back. And then I started experimenting with different styles. But this was the work that I started to make a little name for myself amongst the eBay crowd. It's such interesting work because it's got so much, so many little things happening, and so it makes it very interesting for the eye. The eye wants to find out more. The eye always wants to find out more. And so this is the perfect combination for that, because it's almost like a fragmented style, right? This type of impressionism. This is more close to impressionism with palette knife, and you'll see why at the end of this. Why I actually do think this is more impressionistic or post-impressionistic than any of the other stuff that I normally do. Because this has got the whole flair in there. The whole thing always goes back to effort, as I have explained before in other videos. No effort, no gain, right? This is a game of effort, whatever that is for the artist, for each individual artist. This is a style that I started winning little ribbons in high school. When I was in high school. It's how I started getting my first commissions. And I rarely paint this way for many reasons. One of them, I don't usually look back that much when I paint something or in a style. Another reason also is because I like to experiment with different stuff, and so as I started becoming a full-time artist, I started experimenting with other styles, and now I find myself coming back to this more and more. Which is a lot of fun. Definitely impressionist. Lots of little brush strokes, as you'll see right now. As it progresses, you're gonna start seeing more and more. I'm gonna change the palette to a smaller one. You're gonna start seeing more and more of what I'm talking about here. Start out with a bigger palette, and then we'll go way down. Start finding the values and the colors and everything through the brush stroke or the palette stroke. This is how you start finding it. You don't find it accidentally. It happens through the brush stroke. I hope you guys can see it. Let me give you a front view of that. It's slowly, but it's coming. That's usually how this style works. One of the reasons I stopped doing it, probably, because it's so fucking slow. I like painting fast, so. Want me here? Okay, Mika. You need help, Mika? No.
Thank you for helping me this morning.
You're welcome. Much love and stuff. Here comes the rooster. Look at that. Man, this stuff is so much fun. There's days that I'm just like, dude, I can't believe I get paid for like having fun. Like gray is such an important color in impressionistic style paintings. I just want to put that out there. I know a lot of people out there don't like using gray, but in impressionistic style paintings, gray is like the motherfucking savior of colors. You know, it makes everything pop. It makes everything pop. Yeah, I've been playing with the palette knife and a couple of paintings only, a couple of larger paintings, playing with the palette knife a little bit. Yeah. So this style is a little bit more Like I said, it's a little bit more intense than what I normally do. The palette knife, I will tell you, is a little bit harder to control than the brush for a number of reasons. But nevertheless, you should try it. If you haven't ever used palette knife, or if you've used it before, I'm always saying that it's so simple, and it's so easy. The brush style, it's much simpler. The palette knife is a little bit trickier, just a little bit trickier. It requires a little bit more practice, I think, than the brush. Because it's almost like palette knife is almost like it's like driving without reverse. There's no reverse in your car, and so you just move forward and forward and forward. It almost feels that way. Brush, you can go back, forward, you can move sideways. Brush is very interesting that way. It's very unforgiving, and you can do all sorts of interesting things with brush. But with palette knife, it's almost, you feel a little bit restricted. Where I love palette knife is if you take your time with it. Okay, like what I'm doing here. If you take your time with it, you can really explore. You can really explore a lot. But the key of palette knife is taking your time. If you rush the palette knife, you probably have a hard time with it. You have to take your time with it. That's what I think anyway. Those are my 2 cents. I don't know if it's true, guys. Okay, don't quote me on that. That's just what I've learned from painting and doing this deal all these years. The expressiveness of palette knife is it's very cool once you get the hang of it. It's like a mixture of applying and removing. It's almost like ice skating, I guess. You're scratching and gliding all at the same time. You're scratching the floor while you're gliding, while you're sliding. And again, no right or wrong way of doing it. So don't let someone tell you that there's a right or wrong way of doing it. They're just styles. They're just different styles. Ultimately, it's just another crayon, It's just another crayon, like a child. We play with crayons. I said that before. Children, we're playing here with crayons, and ultimately that's all it is. So much glare, huh? So look at the let's put it back and keep doing this ish. I remember the first person that I saw actually use this palette knife. What I thought was magic was a French painter living in Michigan. He's got a studio in Michigan. He had a studio in Paris, and that was the first person I've ever saw really working the palette knife to a master level. I see a lot of people working the palette knife, but you know, not really working it, just kind of like trying to be clever with it. I think the palette knife I personally think, I don't know if I'm right or not, but this is what I think. I think the palette knife is meant to create puzzles out of your paintings. Personally, I think that's really the only purpose the palette knife has. To create puzzles. If you're not creating puzzles, you're probably not having fun with it. That's the only reason I think anybody would use the palette knife for. Make little puzzles. You know, like if you puzzle the painting together. Again, I haven't used this style in a long time. Really used it. This is the style that I started getting paid for, right in the beginning when I first started selling my work. That I really started getting paid for. I used to be a portrait artist, and I used to get paid every now and then, but it didn't really take off. But the first time that I actually begin to get paid consistently was when I started painting this way. And you can see why. The intensity of the painting has so much to offer to the viewer. How's it going, Alicia? It has so much to offer to the viewer. The viewer can really enjoy it in so many different levels. You know, and don't get me wrong. I go right in there with the palette, and then I'll put some brush in there as well. But either way, always with the idea of making the painting really sing, you know, to really make it sing with movement and color and all kinds of stuff. And then I overdo it. I try to pick up as much as I can. As I'm painting. And again, I overdo it also because overbrush, let's call it that, right? Because I'm not coming back to it. Remember, this is palette. You don't really come back to it. If you come back to it, you're probably painting, you know, along the little ridges and the corners, and you can't really come back to it. Those of you who do palette knife, you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't let you, because of all the paint sticking out. It doesn't let you come back to it. So this is it. You better grab it while it's wet. This is it. And so since this is it, I try to paint as quick as I can, as most as I can. Everything. You paint everything in there. You put as much attention into everything. Because you're not coming back to it. Yeah, in one shot. And your imagination can run wild here. This is what I love about palette knife too. Yeah, your imagination can really run wild. There ain't nothing stopping you. And so, if there's nothing stopping me, then anything goes. Here, let's move it from the glare so you can see what is going on right now. Kinds of weird shit's happening. Thank you so much, Alicia. I appreciate it. Take care. Look at that. And the imagination runs wild with these ones. They have no end. I was doing a video yesterday on here on Instagram, and I was doing a video on water lilies. I didn't quite finish it. I finished it later because they have no end. Once you go into painting in a sort of impressionistic style, I mean that was one of the criticisms of the artist representing the impressionist. They used to get upset because the paintings were not done quick enough in order to sell them. And Duran Real was always complaining, and other dealers of the art, the impressionist, the French impressionist, and the Spanish impressionist also, because and many others, because you can go on forever. You can go on forever because you pick up stuff that you didn't pick up before as you keep painting. And so this style is very, very interesting for that reason. Again, the first artist that I actually saw painting this in what I would consider high end was the French Impressionist painter Pierre Bitard. It was the first person that I thought, man, that guy can paint. That guy can use a palette knife. I've never seen anyone use the palette knife like he did. And so I started learning from him, and that's how I got my first commissions. Was painting a palette knife in that very saturated style, very intense, like what I'm doing here. Then years went by and I started experimenting with other styles. I got kind of bored with it, tired, because it's very labor intensive, and so I got kind of tired with it. Although people love it, at least they love the ones that I do. People like to buy those. I rarely do them for obvious reasons. But lately I've been having fun with some of them. It's like the Energizing Bunny. You can just keep going and going and going. It doesn't mean you have to. It doesn't mean that it's right. It doesn't mean that it makes the painting any better. It means that you have a lot of fun with it. That's all it means. It means that you have a lot of fun with it. And some people really like that. Some people really like that. They like that intensity, that Van Gogh-ish intensity. You know, lots of paint. Some people really like that. I know some of my buyers, some of my collectors, as soon as I make a painting like this, they fly off the shelf. They really like it. Others don't. Some do. Have you ever tried painting? No, I don't do that. I mean, I did it when I was starting out as a practice and whatnot. I don't really do that. I draw that way, just for fun, with my non-dominant hand, with my left hand. I draw that way, just to play around, but nothing serious, nothing to exhibit or to try to sell or anything like that. And I only do it to play around. I used to do it as practice. Supposedly, it helps with your vision as an artist. Supposedly, I don't know. I never saw. I cannot say that I saw any benefit from that. What I did see a lot of benefit from is painting a lot. I saw a lot of benefit, and not as becoming a better artist, but becoming a more sure artist. Become more sure of my work. And I know some artists are probably looking at me and be like, okay, you're done, leave it alone. But that's not the point of these paintings. The point of these paintings is not to be done with them. These are not paintings that you finish. Yeah, these aren't paintings that you're like, oh, I'm gonna go finish this painting. You never finish it. I mean, you do once it starts drying on you. Because once it dries on you, you can't really do anything anymore with it. You have to go in it with a brush and start little doing knickknacks there with a brush. Eventually you finish them. The longest I've stayed with a painting like this has been about 4 hours. And then finally I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna paint anymore. But not because I finished it, but because I just didn't want to paint anymore. That's the longest I stayed with one of these post-impressionistic style paintings. About 4 hours in a row. And then I was good for it. I was done. I was like, okay, I think I got what I needed out of this. It's also called knife painting, my friends, because you cut into it. It's not just to apply paint, but it's to cut. You're cutting into it. That's what makes it super interesting when you start cutting into it. When did I start painting? About, I don't know, about 20 something years ago now. Yeah. Not that long, not very, very long, like some of you have been painting probably since the 50s or I don't know. Not that long. But these are super duper intense paintings that I enjoy so much. I love another artist also that does some really nice intense paintings. A few artists. One of the artists that I really admire, her name is Erin Hansen. She does some very cool intense paintings also. Her paintings are more organized though. They're not. These are all random. What I'm doing here is very random. Her paintings are extremely organized. It's just her style. She does very beautiful, organized brushwork, but very, very intense. I think she said that it takes her weeks to make just one painting with a brush, and it makes sense because it's very organized, very intense brushwork. Like each brush stroke has its place, and that's really beautiful to watch. Another artist that I really admire also is an artist from Virginia. His name is Buckland. The dude makes some really intense paintings also. He paints the Appalachian Mountains over there in Virginia, and the paintings are extremely intense, which I love. I love his style for that reason also. And I think he uses mainly brush, or only or mainly brush. But he's a plein air painter and he does them very intense too. I really enjoy watching that. And of course, one of my favorite artists of all time has been James Ensor. I think he's British, from back in the day, like Van Gogh, post-impressionist. Very, very intense paintings, just like Van Gogh. Van Gogh was very intense. The paintings seem like they would never end. You know, there's so much intensity. How many times have I used the word intense? I think I used it like a good 30 times now in this video. I mean, it's up to you to you know, to think about whether what is it for you? Is it just a big old mess, or does it mean something? Yeah. Either way, there it is. Some little craziness going on. So I gotta wait 20 years to be like you? No, not at all. I don't think so. I don't think you have to wait at all. There's my palette. So there it is, my friends. Hope you guys enjoy this. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. This is just part of my my little craziness here. I don't always paint like this, but when I do, I'm just joking. I don't always paint like this. Sometimes I paint like this. Very rare. You'll usually see me painting with very loose brushwork. But sometimes I just like to go in with a palette knife and just do some crazy-ish. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a good one, guys. By the way, I'm going to be auctioning this painting on eBay tonight. And the auction starts at 99 cents. Okay, this is a 24... I think it's a 20 by 24. I think so. Yeah, it's a 20 by 24 inches. Oil and canvas. It'll be fun. It'll be a fun little auction. Okay, take care. Peace out.